Welcome to Salon TV. I'm Matthew Rozsa, and today I'm talking about American politics with Judah Friedlander. You may know him as Frank Rossitano from 30 Rock or Toby Radloff from American Splendor, but in his new Netflix comedy special, America is the Greatest Country in the United States, he offers his unique take on how he'd change America and whether literal farce could actually be more plausible than today's headlines. Let's check out the trailer for his new special.
I do a lot of charity work. Anyone else? You seem like great people. America is the greatest country in the United States. Let's go to the stats. We don't need it. We're Americans. We're strong. When I'm president, I'm going to make college free. But you got to pay for high school. Racism, where do you stand? For or against it? A lot of undecided. I think climate change won the Cold War. Invade North Dakota. Send North Korea a message. Welcome to the #1 country. Welcome.
So, one of my favorite jokes from your special, which, by the way, I highly recommend if you enjoy comedians who deliver one-liners and then interact with audience members who may or may not be hostile, you'll enjoy this. One of my favorite one-liners is you talk about how you are opposed to vaccines, not because you believe vaccines cause autism, but because diseases have rights too.
Well, I'm talking about the anti-vaccination people. You know, I basically, I have a quick joke there where I talk about, I ask the audience how you feel about the anti-vaccination people, and I say I don't think they're anti-science. I think they're just pro-diseases' rights, and you have to look at that. Diseases are very discriminated against in the medical community.
It's frankly, I mean, what we're talking about in the medical community is just a policy of annihilating millions and millions of living creatures.
Yeah, genocide.
Yeah, you said it, not me.
Yeah, so it all depends on how you look at things.
It does.
Yeah.
But no, we were talking about how you believe that the character Toby Radloff that you played in American Splendor.
Yeah, well, Toby's an awesome guy. Friend of mine. He bills himself as the genuine nerd, and I would agree, and he does that proudly. He's a very fascinating guy. I've never asked Toby myself this, but I've heard some people say that, maybe he might be on the autism spectrum. Maybe not. But I've never personally asked him.
Well, one of the things that I appreciated about that joke, and I feel like there are a lot of jokes in your special which do this, is it's taking a subject that's very sensitive to people. For instance, as someone who is on the autism spectrum myself, this is obviously something I'm passionate about, and it's able to find a sort of comic twist without being hurtful. You're good at making jokes that have a point without punching down. How do you strike that balance? How do you avoid making the kind of jokes that make the victim into the punchline?
Well, first of all, brilliantly said. Brilliantly said.
Well, thank you.
I would say, I think it's important, at least for me, I'm just talking about me, I'm someone who always fights for the oppressed, for the underdog, and so, what's the point in beating up on someone who's already experiencing oppression, whether it's on a personal level or a societal level, or a systematic structural level. Like, I would never want to do that personally. Even when I'm talking about very serious issues on stage, it's all comedy, and satire, jokes, one-liners, longer, extended, more complicated jokes, and as well as crowd work stuff too.
Well, let's go back to the fact that we were just censored, though.
Yeah.
Because it is pretty clear from your special, do not care for President Donald Trump's policies.
No, but I would like to add this, that I don't at all. I think he's very, very dangerous. A lot of the special was filmed before he came into office. So a lot of the special is critical of not just him, but the Obama administration and all the administrations that we've had. When I'm doing jokes and talking about mass incarceration, racism, sexism, imperialism, healthcare. These are not exclusive problems to Trump. He did not invent mass incarceration or police brutality. These were going on fully strong during the Obama administration and all the other administrations. So I'm not blaming Obama specifically for it, but these are things that are problems that I think our country has always had.
So do you think that your special would not have looked that different had Hillary Clinton won?
No, it would have been, there's probably, I'd say, maybe 4 minutes of material that's specific to Trump out of the 84-minute special. Those minutes would probably not be in there, but the other stuff is all in there. Our military drone strikes, killing innocent civilians overseas. That's not specific to Trump. I think it's likely to become worse. Maybe it already has become worse under Trump. I'm not sure, but it was very bad under Obama. And these things they're not new things that we have.
So in a way, your special, because the title really is great. America is the greatest country in the United States.
Yeah.
And it speaks to two problems. One, obviously, is the undercurrent of just ignorance that exists in this country.
Yes.
And the other is this idea that America is the best, but we don't have this ability to be self-aware about our own flaws. And I felt like that was a theme where you identified flaws in American life, the prison industrial complex being a really big one that you hammer home, that we don't seem to be willing to confront as a people.
Yeah. Well, I think, we're kind of taught that propaganda is something that happens in other countries. Or it'll happen, if you're a Democrat voter, it'll be the Republicans who are doing propaganda against you. And if you're a Republican voter, it'll be the Democrats doing propaganda against you. We were all taught in this country, from the time we're little kids, that not only is America the greatest country in the world, it's the greatest country in the history of the world.
And you don't agree with that premise?
Well, I think it's when you're not taught anything about other countries, to just automatically believe that. I mean, believing in yourself, having confidence, that's all great. But, bragging, being overconfident, being cocky, probably not the best thing. So I just find it interesting that, from Democrats, from Republicans, from mainstream news, you're always taught that this is the greatest country in the history of the world, and when we're electing a president, we're electing the leader of the free world. And I was always wondering, how come we're the only country that gets to vote for the leader of the free world? And I guess that's because we're number one. I guess it's because of the best. The other countries just aren't good enough, they're inferior, and they don't deserve to vote for the leader of the free world. Only we do.
And I would say part of the problem is that other countries pick up on this attitude that we have. And it doesn't help.
Yeah, well, other countries, I think, when you're right in the middle of stuff, it can often be really hard to see the problems. You often have to step aside or step out of it and then look back in, and then you can see the problems better. I think there's, it's almost like if you support a football team and you love the team, but no matter what the record of that football team is each year, you keep saying you're the greatest team. All right, if you're 0-17, you're not the greatest team.
Especially since there are only 16 games in the season.
Right. And if you criticize the coach, all right, that's an interesting point. Well, one extra game just to see if they can win one. And no, but it's like if you
I'm sorry.
No, never apologize. You're an American. America's never wrong. We're number one. It's like if people will be like, some people will get mad, if you criticize this country. They're like, "Oh, what do you hate this country? Leave." It's like, well, that same person, if their hometown football team stinks, they're freely criticizing certain players or the coaches and their decisions. It's like, does that mean you hate your team and you should never support that team again and leave that city? No. It's like, being able to criticize this country and the government, that actually is part of what makes us a good country. Because some countries you can't do that. And we can still do that here. But I feel like that is a good thing.
I feel like there is an effort, though, to kind of suppress that. You were talking to me earlier about Kathy Griffin and the backlash against her.
Or we were talking about censorship and stuff like that. How, she wasn't censored in what she did, but she got a lot of, negative feedback on that. I think the problem with that was, what she did was, the attempt at what she did didn't work. It wasn't like funny, and she got pounded on, by people, and she caved. She got very upset and apologized and stuff. It's hard to say when it's going on, but looking back, I think you would say, she shouldn't have. Well, one, it should have been a funnier thing, and then if you make something that's really funny, generally you get a lot less complaints, and that one didn't really quite work, and that's okay. Sometimes things don't quite work, but I think she should have done what Donald Trump does and don't apologize.
See, it's interesting because you keep saying don't apologize, but do you really believe that you shouldn't apologize? I mean, what if you're wrong? Then shouldn't you apologize?
If you're wrong, you should apologize. But I don't know that she did anything wrong there.
Oh, I agree.
That's what I'm saying. So that's why I don't think she should have apologized. But yeah, I've done that before, where I've done, I've made a comment or I've said something, and people have said to me, what you said there, really wasn't. If you look at it from the saying, it was really not good. And I'll be like, you know what, you're right. That was bad. I shouldn't have done that. And I'm not going to do that again. I've definitely done that before.
I think if you hurt people who don't, I don't mean you specifically, I think just in general, if you hurt people who don't deserve it, or you do something that's just
if you do something wrong, that's part of how you grow as a human, but in that situation, I think looking back, she probably should not have apologized for that. And then she probably should have had a nuanced discussion about it,
Like what I was trying to accomplish, this was a piece of art, this was meant to be funny, maybe the joke didn't land.
Right. Or maybe, that stuff got leaked before it was in print. Maybe, maybe it wasn't supposed to be ha-ha funny. Maybe it was supposed to be, dark and kind of scary, creepy, but not, not a statement like this is what should happen to him, Those are two different things,
Now it's interesting because again, and this goes back to a theme from your special. Your special really is all about taking things that are shameful about this country and acting like they're points of pride. Because after all, we're America. We don't say I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, that's just the satire, angle of it. Where I talk about how, we're, when it comes to like parental leave, in Europe and other countries, many women get 6 months or more paid leave after giving birth to a baby. Ours women in this country generally get 0 days off after giving birth to a baby. And why is that? And that's because our women care about the economy. In Europe and other countries they don't. So the women here care more. Yeah.
I mean, that's just obvious.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because in your special, a lot of what you're doing is interacting with audience members.
Yes.
So clearly these aren't bits that you were able to script. They had to be improvised.
Some of them are a mix. So some of the stuff in the special is 100% off the cuff. And then some of them are bits that were done on the spot there. But the bits are actually jokes that were written on stage and grown over a long period of time, anywhere from a few weeks to a year. So like, for instance, because I sort of, in part of my act, I kind of run like a mock town hall, where I tell the audience I'm going to be the next president, and then I ask them, are there any issues they really care about, and throw them at me. Ask me about my presidential platform, and then I'll give you my policies and my answers. So some of the questions are going to be questions I've heard before. So like for healthcare, I first started doing bits on that, probably 7 years ago, where I was asking the audience any questions about my presidency, and they would yell at healthcare. And initially, I came up with a joke right on the spot. And then I did that for several months. Now that joke I since dropped because I came up with other jokes. And then, so initially I'll come up with one new joke, and then the next night, if someone asks that question again, I'll do that joke, and then I might think of an additional joke to add on that. And then after a while, that one joke I had to that one question on healthcare has now become like a 3 to 5 minute whole bit. So it's grown. So the stuff you see in the special, I've been doing that healthcare bit for a while, but that night I didn't know they were going to ask that. I didn't know who was going to ask it. I don't know when they were going to ask it. But so I do a lot of my writing on stage. I do writing off stage too, but like that particular joke was mostly written on stage over a long period of time.
Now, have you ever encountered audience members who are outright hostile? Not just trying to challenge you, but are literally angry or hateful.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
How do you
yeah.
sort of deal with that?
Well, as a comedian, it's always best to, I mean, each situation's different. You know, there's not one response that's a fix-all for all of them. But, you know, as a comedian, you know, you always try to diffuse the situation, you know, and play it cool and keep things funny, you know. So, and then, you know, sometimes, you know, security staff has to get involved. That does happen sometimes, you know. So, but yeah, things can be, you know, because when you're in a nightclub, it's like, you know, you don't know, or theater, you know, you don't know who's in there, and you don't know how they're going to respond always, each people, and, you know, you can't see most of the people. And then when there's alcohol involved, which there often is at shows, and who knows what people might have been doing before, or who knows what might have happened to them earlier in the day, or what mental state they're in. So you never know what's going to go on, you know. So, but keeping it cool is always generally the way to go.
Yeah. Saying don't flip out, don't just start yelling insults.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, when some comics have had problems with audience members and the video clip goes viral, it's usually because the comics lost their cool and they start freaking out themselves.
I mean, the two big examples I can think of are Michael Richards and Daniel Tosh. Those are
right.
Pretty infamous cases.
I didn't see the Tosh thing. I read about it.
I don't think it was recorded. I think there was just,
oh, okay.
I think it was
I
just a
saw
transcript.
the Richards thing, and it's like, I mean, he said, you know, you want to, like I said, you want to diffuse the situation, and his response was saying the one word that is the most volatile, loaded, angering word probably in the whole English language in the United States.
And he did it to punch down, I feel like, was part of the problem, too.
Oh,
wasn't it?
I can't remember. That totally might have been. I don't know. But just saying that word alone is one of the dumber things you can do as a comic, you know. So, but I don't want to fucking rip on the guy, but, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't like ripping on other people, so it's like even.
But since we're talking about sensitive issues like, you know, ethnicity, one of the other jokes that you made that I thought was very clever, you talk about how you're Jewish, but that there are many people who in the Jewish community say you aren't Jewish unless you have a Jewish mother. And
well, I don't even say that I'm Jewish. I say that I thought I was Jewish, and then I started. Then people who I met were Jewish started telling me that I wasn't Jewish. Yeah, I don't want to give away the joke, but it's on the special. You can watch it. Yeah.
Oh, so
yeah.
that's my cue. Don't give away the joke.
No, I don't want to give away the joke.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know. So, but yeah, so that's the whole thing about like, you know, literally, I thought I was Jewish, and then
turns out he's not. Apparently,
but I came to New York when I was 18, and over the years, I realized many people who are Jewish, they would find out that my mom is not Jewish and that I wasn't bar mitzvahed, and then, you know, they would look at me, they would get so angry and look at me like, why have I been trying to deceive them? You know, like it's like I robbed their house or something, you know, and so yeah, so they started telling me that I wasn't Jewish. And then I have a longer bit about that, but I don't want to give it away. You can watch it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're 18 minutes in at this point.
Wow, okay.
Chai, it's an important number in Judaism.
Is it real? What is the importance of it? I don't know.
It has a chet and a yid, and those two letters together in Hebrew also spell the word life.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
they also numerically create the number 18.
Oh.
So, l'chaim.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So 18 is a good number.
18 is a very good number in
I
Judaism.
believe in Chinese culture, 18 is considered a lucky number.
Mm-hmm. And it's the number when you can become a legal adult and, you know, can vote.
Well, let's talk about that. Why is 18 the legal age to vote? People talk about racism and sexism in this country, which are massive problems, but ageism, you know, it's not something that, it's obviously there's ageism against elder people, but I think against younger people there's lots of ageism. So
well, until I think 1971, it was 21. That was the cutoff.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I think it should be lower, you know.
What
if we made it 10?
So 10 to 18-year-olds could vote, you're saying?
I guarantee you, I bet if kids voted, I think if it was 14 and under were the only people allowed to vote, we'd get better election results.
We'd get very different nominees.
Yeah.
I think Justin Bieber might be president
and
right
you don't
now.
have to be 35 to be president.
Although he's Canadian. I mean, who do you think would be president if kids could vote? I was going to say Justin Bieber, but he was born in
That
Canada.
means you have to lower the presidential age also. It's currently 35.
But then
to be
again, how do they
president.
determine the ratio? 35 is the minimum age to be president, but 18 is the minimum age to vote.
I don't know.
So if we like, I don't think you lower it to 10. You probably lower it to like something in the 20s. But I mean, what issues would matter to kids? Actually, you might get better education policy.
Yeah, I think, kids are very interesting, because like anyone, kids can be terrible people too, I don't believe that, when people do bad things that everything's taught, Some people are born very caring and nice, and some are born aggressive and mean, and hateful. I don't think all of hate is taught. I think a lot of it is, unfortunately, within human DNA, and it's something you often have to fight against. So I think you often have to be taught more to be nice than to actually be taught to be mean.
So you think we'd have some kids out there?
So nobody should vote. I think dogs should vote. Dogs are generally very nice.
There'd be a lot of fire hydrants.
Maybe. I don't know. But maybe if dogs voted, we'd have a better president. Trump's also the first president over 100 years not to have a dog.
Yeah, which really says something very troubling if you think about it. Yeah.
Think about it.
But anyway, on that note, I believe that I should wrap this up.
Or maybe we should just have some kind of an algorithm pick the president and just leave humans out of it altogether.
Mark Zuckerberg can design the algorithm.
Yeah, all right, bad idea. Bad idea.
You're right. I just ruined this. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us.
Very cool meeting you and talking to you. Thanks so much.
Very much likewise. Thank you.